Pokey and I decided to stop at the Rose Garden. The Rose Garden is absolutely gorgeous. It's right in front of the Mission. Anyway, I am waiting on my test results from my mammogram, and I'm sure everything's fine because it always has been in the past. The reason I always have to get the ultrasound, of course, I told you I have dense breasts, but there's more to the story. When I was 18 years old, I got breast implants. I was super flat-chested, and I just thought that my chest was unattractive. It was just this terrible cultural thing. My mom and I got a 2-for-1, basically, boob job. And we did it on the exact same day, and I know it's so gross, but that's what happened. And from the moment I got the boobs, I didn't like them. I mean, I liked the way they looked aesthetically, but I didn't like that I couldn't run the same, I couldn't dance the same. I just felt a heaviness in my chest that obviously I didn't feel before, and I just thought to myself, yeah, having boobs is not what everyone made it out to be. And so I didn't take them out because I thought, well, I've got them now and I just got to learn to live with them. This very strange thing happened to me. I went to the dentist and I got my teeth cleaned, and the very next morning I woke up and my boobs were hard as a rock. I mean, hard as a rock. And I called my plastic surgeon up and I said, what is going on? Something's happened to my boobs. They're like super, super hard. And he said, oh, come in, So I got there and he said, well, tell me, did you get your teeth cleaned? And I said, yeah, I did yesterday. And he said, oh, well, obviously you didn't read the fine print. If you get your boobs done, you always have to take an antibiotic before you get your teeth cleaned. And I said, I've never heard of that. And he said, well, yeah, it's just this particular implant that you got that has to have an antibiotic when you get your teeth cleaned. So I was just like, okay, well, this is crazy. What am I going to do? I mean, I was 18 years old. He took one side of my boob and the other side of my boob with his hands, and he literally just went, and I touched, and of course they were soft. And I was like, oh my goodness, how did you do that? And he said, oh, you just had some calcification. A few months went by and I started to feel extremely lethargic. I was taking naps in the middle of the day, and I was not eating properly, and I was losing weight, and I noticed that my hair started falling out, and I noticed that my period stopped, and I thought that was really strange. And then I met Billy. Billy begged me from the first couple of months that we were together to have my breast implants taken out. He was just like, I don't know why you even got those in the first place. You were fine. Not that he'd ever seen them before, but he was just like, how bad could they have been? I agreed that I would take them out, but I wanted to know first if I had a rupture. I went to see a specialist, and sure enough, I did have a rupture in the left breast. The doctor recommended that I have them out, and so I went back to my breast implant person who put them in originally and said, I'd like to get my breast implants taken out. So I had the breast implants taken out, and I was so happy. I could run again. I could just do the things that I had wanted to do, but felt compromised because of the weight on my chest. And I was happy. I was really, really happy. I could, wear little tank tops again. And the only thing was I was still feeling sick, and I wasn't getting better. I was getting worse. And I started to really lose a lot of weight. And I started to feel really achy in my bones, and I started to feel like I was 90 years old. I just started to feel like everything was aching and cracking. When I would walk, I would hear my bones snapping. It was just awful. It was just horrific. And this went on for a really long time, but the worst symptom was that I was itchy. One thing that I have never shared with you guys was that before Billy and I were married, Lord forgive me for having premarital sex, but I did. I had gotten pregnant with Billy, and we had gone to the Caribbean. I miscarried in the Caribbean, and it was a Sunday, and it was horrific. I was in the middle of nowhere. No hospitals were open. And I was doubled over in pain, having these terrible contractions. And I was only about, 11 or 12 weeks pregnant. I needed to get home, and I needed to get home fast. I was able to get on a man's private jet who was flying out of the Caribbean that day to New York City, which was where Billy and I lived. And that night, I got a DNC. It's funny how, you don't talk about it for a long time, and then when you do, it just gets you emotional. But I'm convinced now that the reason I miscarried was because of the fact that my body was just so full of toxins that it could not carry a child. I was actually talking about it today. That's kind of what brought all of this up for me. That I would have had a 27-year-old child right now if I hadn't miscarried. It's just such a trip. So Billy and I went to a dinner party in New York, and I was sitting next to this lovely lady, and we started talking about life and whatnot, and I shared with her some of the symptoms and some of the things that have been going on in my life. And she said, "Can I ask you a personal question?" I said, "Sure." And she said, "Have you ever had breast implants?" I said, "Yes, I have had breast implants, but I had them removed." And she said, "Can I ask you another personal question?" And I said, "Of course." And she said, "Well, when you had them removed, did you also have the capsule removed?" And I just looked at her like like she had grown 4 heads. And I said, "I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. What's a capsule?" And she said, "Not many people know that underneath the breast implant is what's called a capsule. And it's just sort of like a sheet of paper that rests underneath the implant to help catch any debris in case you have a rupture." And I said, "Well, I'd have to call my doctor to find out if my capsule was removed. I'm sure he took that out. I mean, why wouldn't he?" And she said, "Well, actually, I'm pretty sure that he didn't take your capsules out because you're still having such severe symptoms. I would bet money that your capsules are still in." I asked my plastic surgeon if, when he had removed the breast implants, if he had taken out the capsules. And he said, "Well, no, I didn't take out the capsules. Why would I do that?" And I said, "Well, why wouldn't you have done that?" And he said, "Well, because it's a very bloody procedure, and it would have extended your surgery by another 2 hours easily, and I just never, ever take out capsules. I just think that's a big waste of time." So I said, "Well, I want my capsules removed." And he said, I don't do that." So I called this lady back up because I had gotten her phone number, and I said, "You're right, I still have my capsules in." And she said, "Okay, here's who you need to call." Her name is Dr. Lujing Feng out of Ohio. I called the clinic in Ohio. They were very kind to me. She said, "I'm going to get you in as soon as I can, but I do have a pretty long waiting list." And I said, "Well, I'm supposed to get married in about 3 months." And she said, "Okay, I'm going to do my very best to get you in at least a month before your wedding, so you have time to recover." I had to go get some pathology done. And I also had to get a scan of my lymph nodes to see if they were misshapen or discolored in any way. And so I got on the table, and this guy started scanning my body, and he said, "You, my dear, have to thank your body, because your body knew that it was in trouble, and it created and manufactured new lymph nodes in your body." He said, "You probably have triple the amount of lymph nodes that I've ever seen in a human being." And he said, "They're also sort of like a grayish color, which leads me to believe that you probably have some toxicity inside your lymph nodes." He actually asked me if I would participate in a scientific study, and I said I was, really sorry, but that I didn't live in Ohio and that I didn't really think I was going to be able to. The surgery went smoothly, but unfortunately, when they biopsied my lymph nodes, there was polyurethane inside my lymph nodes, all of them. Polyurethane is basically glue. The particular implant that I had is no longer FDA approved, and they don't sell it in the United States. They won't allow women to have them. They were deemed toxic and unsafe. So once the surgery was completed, it was messy. There were drains involved, and it was a long recovery. I had to stay in Ohio for probably about 9 days after the surgery. I will tell you though that the minute I had those capsules removed, I felt my body say thank you. And not just say it, I felt my body scream, thank you, Chynna. It makes me want to cry now just because it was just such a beautiful moment where I could feel my body speaking to me. I felt like I was moving faster, I was sleeping better, and my periods came back. In retrospect, when I think about my whole journey with the breast implants and all of that, it just breaks my heart that as a young girl, I didn't love my body and I didn't look in the mirror and just say, you're enough and you're beautiful. And, you know, I was comparing and despairing with my friends who I thought had perfect boobs, you know. It makes me really sad for us women who just are so hard on ourselves and judgmental of our own bodies. So a month after that surgery, Billy and I got married. It was a beautiful wedding. I just started to heal. I just started to get well for the first time in years. And I spent so many years suffering, not knowing what was wrong with me. If you're contemplating getting breast implants, please, 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 please don't do it. Just don't do it. Love your body. Love your body the way it is and ask the Lord to give you grace and to give you grace over the beautiful body that God gave you. Guys, love you so much. Hope you enjoyed this episode of calpreach. God bless you and peace of Christ. Hey, you guys, if this video blessed you in any way, I pray that you will subscribe, and I also pray that you'll press that little button next to the subscribe, because that is an alert button and it will give you a notification every single time there's a brand new calpreach. And of course, share, because sharing is caring, and you just never know who's going to find the peace of Christ. Amen.